Well, hey, handy people, Dan here. Hey, got some updates on this blue wagon I wanted to share with you. Been doing a lot of work, so come on along. Well, I got a set of nice Sachs shocks for the rear, the OEM style shocks, and those were provided by a friend of mine, John. Thank you, John, for those. And then this is a rear subframe from a C70 coupe, and I've already taken the springs off it. I have already removed and replaced the rear sway bar, anti-sway bar, with a bar from a 97 850R wagon. So that's a pretty good size rear sway, and this had beautiful cables on it, emergency brake cables that were operating. So I've retained those, and I'm going to retain these calipers, but I am getting some new pads and new rotors for the back. So anyways, I'm going to be installing those the new springs on it, and I actually bought some of these IPD overload springs. And interesting note, the coupe springs are actually quite a bit taller. It's interesting, and I'm not sure why, but I did check out the springs on the NA wagon, and those also appear to be a little taller than these IPD ones. So I know the IPD's a heavier duty spring. You can tell by the actual diameter of the spring itself is much larger. So I'm anxious to see how these work and what this will do. So, all right, next up we'll be putting them on. Okay, so we go to install the spring into the spring pocket, and you'll note the orientation of this. The small end goes down, and the orientation of it fits into here. You'll see it's pressed in to the bottom of this, or to this spring perch that it mounts to. Yeah. Pay attention so that if you get that seated properly the first time, it saves you a lot of hassle and heartache. Then you got to drop down your retainer and get everything aligned. There, that's pretty good. And tighten it as far as you can. And there you have it. And it's very important to get that orientation of that end of the spring into the pocket where it's supposed to be. Otherwise it won't fit right. But this fits beautiful. Now I'm going to do the other side. Another tip is to take and clean this dish out, because dirt builds up in there. So you take a wire brush, and they have a convenient hole to sweep it down. There's a hole here. And yeah. You get all the dirt out of there, and that seat is a little better at being where it's supposed to be. there's not, you know, I found little stones and everything. I mean, there's a lot of road debris gathers in here. You can see the dust coming out the little cleaning, I call it the cleaning hole, and it is actually probably for water and contaminants to drain out during driving in wet conditions. But yeah, this, I'm just using a little brass brush, a little wire brush, to kind of clean this spring pocket out. Break the dirt loose. It's kind of like dirt that's been washed into there over time. Probably brake dust and a whole bunch of other stuff. And take a rag and wipe her out. These little things take time, but I find they're worth it because things stay in place better, they go into position better, they're just a little bit better all the way around. So I could see where the old spring was, its position. So I'm putting this new spring in that same location. Another tip is the bolt threads on the bolt that protrudes down through that you run the nut up on, I clean those on the bench grinder on a wire wheel. My number one go-to is that wire wheel on the bench grinder. That thing's amazing. So there you have it. Both IPD springs are in place. Next up, I'm going to clean up these rotors, and the calipers rather. I've got new rotors coming. So first I'll clean the calipers while they're in place, and then second, I will work to get, you know, I'll put some fresh paint on it. I'm just noticing some different things on these. Well, Laser Madness continues. We've got the rear subframe all taken care of. The rear suspension, I should say. Yeah, we got the brake calipers painted, and we're ready for the new rotors. We got the IPD overload springs on and the 97 850R bar mounted. So we got the front calipers painted and ready. Those are remans with the original brackets. I cleaned them up and painted them. And yeah, the Sachs brand new OEM shock absorbers for this package. Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there. Thanks for watching, and please like, share, and subscribe. And if you have any ideas or thoughts about this this front-wheel drive rear end swap, please leave them in the comments below. Thank you very much.